Hello and welcome to another episode of Tester Speak, and I'm your host Brijesh Dev. With me on the screen already is a good old friend, Gaurav Mishra, whom I have known for 2, 3 years, Gaurav, almost, and
No, more than that, I think
it has
5 years.
been an absolute pleasure knowing him. It all started with LinkedIn when we got connected, and we would, comment on each other's comments on posts, and then at the side of that we would begin a WhatsApp chat talking about that post, and then a lot of times we've shared our share of laughter about what's going on, and that's been a really fun journey. So today I thought that let's talk to Gaurav and share his thoughts on topics that he wants to talk about. So welcome to the show, Gaurav.
Thank you, Brijesh. It's an absolute honor to be here on the show. I mean, something I was actually waiting to come
Oh,
on long time. So it's an amazing thing that is happening in Test Chat. All the interviews that is happening, and all the credits to you first. Obviously, to Faiz, T, and Sachin, everyone. But the amount of effort you're putting in to get people at one place, and all the interviews that I watched have been like amazing, because the best thing of these interviews have been that when you start watching them, you just feel that you have a connect with everyone's journey, and that's how it becomes very interesting to watch each and every video. And I'm so delighted for this conversation already. I was a little nervous here before, but I think I'm on my pace now.
well, Gaurav, you've always been very, very kind to me, and you continue to be so. So I'm not going to comment on that any further. No, it's all because of the knowledge and the experience that the guests bring to the table. That's why we tend to enjoy. And like you said, I mean, everybody so far on the show has shared their journey, and everybody has had a unique story to tell,
Yeah,
irrespective of the number of years of experience they may have had with the industry. But the things that they have shared has been very unique. They've had their share of challenges, they have their own thought process, and which is very interesting to know, because from every person, if you watch the interviews, from every
yeah,
person you learn quite a bit, and that is what is phenomenal. And call it my selfishness or whatever, I get to watch the episodes 3 times at least,
yeah.
when I'm doing it, and then when I am editing it, and then
Editing it.
when it's on YouTube. And so at least 3 times I get to watch the episodes, and I am that way very selfish, that I would watch the episodes, make notes, say, oh, this person, okay, said this, and this is a good thing. Maybe I should try this thing at work. Maybe I should also raise my voice at this point. So I look at it from my learning perspective. So that's the way it is. Well,
Right.
okay, so let's get started with our conversation around your
Yes.
journey. So, a
Yes.
boy from Gomia in Bangalore now,
Yeah.
after having traveled around the world.
Yes.
Tell us your story.
So I think my story started, as you said, I was born in Jharkhand, a very small place named Gomia. It's an industrial town. So I was born and brought up there. So once you reach your 11th and 12th, you have a pressure that what you have to do. I mean, if you're in science or commerce, whatever it is. So by the virtue of the friends' choice and parents' suggestions and everything, I obviously was part of science. Obviously, had an inclination towards science and computers, and finally ended up into engineering. Engineering again was some place where I and my father had a clash, where my father wanted me to become a mechanical engineer, and I wanted to become a computer science engineer. And it was so funny that the day I went for my counseling, my father was saying that you have to choose mechanical, and I was like, no, I'm choosing computer science. And I thought that it is going to be a serious problem if I choose computer science, so I chose electronics. So I was on a safer side. I did not choose what you said, I did not choose what I was wanting. I chose a midway, and somehow I think there was a basic thing going in my mind that most of the campus hirings that happen from the IT companies, they recruit people mostly for electronics or computers background. So that was one thing that was going in my mind, and obviously from the information we've been receiving from my seniors and all, engineering journey was going good. I had inclination towards robotics, uh, like writing. Though we used to have workshops, so creating programs for robotics and all those things. So I had interest in that. So that was a basic idea that I used to have about computer science, computers and programming and those things. Although, like when you get in a part of engineering, you have some subjects like C and C we have studied. We have studied microprocessors and all those things. So, but not much on the computer science background or IT background that those guys were getting. But finally, when I got placed, so I got placed along with few of my friends to the same company. I think you know about that company. They've been like some of the mentors from my company, which have been associated to you as well. So we got placed there. There was a delay in joining uh, between after the completion of my engineering. So we were just thinking that what is happening? Why are we not getting a call from the company? What is going to happen? And suddenly one day we get a call that there'll be a interview for you guys, and we were like in shock that we have already given an interview, we have already been placed, and now why we have an interview again. So later on at point we got to know that it is something related to the project. So there'll be a project allocation as per you perform in the interview. Okay, even that was done. Then again there was no response. So one of our friend, he somehow went to Mumbai just to investigate that what is happening, what is wrong. So he just came back and saying that okay, there are two profiles, either they'll put us in support or they'll put us in testing. So this is where I heard testing for the first time, and it was back in 2012. I was wondering that testing, okay, uh, I never knew what is testing. So I said, okay, testing it anyway sounds better than support, so I'll anyway choose testing. I know that. So we had that mindset. We in like matter of 10 days we got a call. We went there. So we had our first mentor in place. I'll mention his name, Manoranjan Das. So he had a first session with us where he gave us a very welcoming message, and he just let us know that what is testing on a basic front, and why have we chosen you to be a part of testing. So I think I was excited. One more of my friend, maybe two of them were excited, but few of them felt like, as in he's just trying to advocate, to be an advocate for testing, and he's just trying to convince people that no, you come to testing because testing is very good. But I was feeling like it's something very interesting that he said, and I won't go into what details he gave, but it sounded very interesting to me. So we started our journey. I think initially we were put as into part of some training, some functional training, what all things generally people go through in testing, and we started our career. So I think until 1 year, we were just being part of everything what was being taught to us as part of hands-on training. And I think until 1 year, I think we were not very much clear that what exactly are we doing. We were still like testing applications, writing test cases, we were using tools, we were exploring areas. But I think that was a phase where I think our seniors had planned things in a way where they wanted us to explore every area and then make us aware that what exactly we were doing. And that phase came up after I think 1.5 years, where everything started becoming relatable. Like we also gave ISTQB, so there were things on paper and things started being relatable to what we were actually doing. And that's how I think, that's when I would say my journey actually started in testing. And I was I was telling everyone that okay, I am part of software testing. Whoever used to ask me that what do you do, so in those times I think there were people who used to ask me that what exactly do you do development or what it is. They never used to ask me anything else. They used to ask me, do you do development, which language do you develop? I said, I know, I am a software tester. I am into testing, functional testing I do, and these all tools I work with. So they used to say, okay, is there something like that? So this was something which we even came from my one of my teacher, so school teacher. I was back on my vacation, and he was asking me that, what do you develop? I said, what? I mean, you did not ask me what do I do. You just asked me what do you develop. I said, okay, I do testing, and I had a friend with me to with along with me. So my teacher said that, what testing? Is it, does it still exist? I said, what? I mean, how do you have that question in your mind? I said, yeah, it is there. And my friend, I mean, just because of like friendship, he started backing that, sir, you don't know what he's doing. He's doing a lot of automation testing. He does Selenium Q2B. I said, no, don't tell him these things. I'm not doing anything of like these. I'm doing functional testing and I'm learning things. It's just been 1.5 years and I don't want to fabricate anything. This is how have started, and I'm still on a learning phase, and I don't see anything bad or anything that where I should be explaining you that how it is and what it is. And I don't understand your question basically. So this is what I'm doing right now. So he did not comment, and the conversation was over. And I think slowly, just because I had a one thing in my mind that I was very curious on things. I always wanted to uh, learn each and every application. I used to walk on the floor. I used to see what is everyone doing. So, for example, how automation happened to me was, it just happened in a way where I used to see people used to have a screen where they'll put a A4 sheet that please do not shut down my computer, and that used to fascinate me. And that's how I have been curious about things, that what are these guys doing, what are they doing on these applications. So that's how I have tried to learn, and that's how I've been getting into testing slowly, step by step. And I think progressively over a period of time, I was able to realize that okay, now I think I can do testing. I think when over a period of like 2-3 years, I was made aware to a lot of applications, different types of application, some different types of testing I had done. So when actually things which were mostly on paper to me, which mostly I used to Google the types of testing or what are these things, when they think all those things became very relatable to what actually I was doing, then was actually feeling, I was feeling delighted, and I was enjoying it because there have been phases where I used to enjoy finding defects. I used to love it. I used to come early in morning, like 7 a.m., just to know that I'll find defects much before people will even think about it. So that's how my passion began. That has been the starting point of the journey.
Well, incredible journey, and I must correct myself here. Well, during the introduction, I said I know Gaurav for 2-3 years. It's not 2-3 years; it's 5-6 years.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
it goes back to 2014, I guess. That's when
13. I met you for the first. I mean, I saw you for the first time in during that one ATA
Agile
meetup.
Testing Alliance meetup.
So
Yes,
later on, we started having conversations.
yeah, and yeah, so it goes back quite some time.
Yeah.
So call it a database glitch. Well, anyways, I mean, this is quite an interesting journey. The first question that pops up in my head is, when you chose electronics, what was your father's reaction?
He was still saying that in first year, if you get whichever subject you get better marks, yeah, I'll make you switch to that subject. So I was so witty. I think I played that time. I got better marks in electronics, and I lowered my marks intentionally in mechanical, just to tell him that see my interest in electronics. You won't believe. And he got to know the reality later, and he was like, I never knew you can do this to me. But but he's happy now.
Oh, I'm sure he's happy and proud.
Yeah.
This, so, this is I wouldn't say very unique story,
Yeah.
but story of most of the engineers or most
Yes.
of the people who get into IT, and we there is still a perspective in the Indian society that okay, you have to become an engineer if you have to have a
Better life.
name for yourself, a better
Yeah.
name for yourself, a better place in the society. Okay, nothing wrong with that thinking. It's okay. But then to be pressurized into getting into these fields,
Yeah.
you know, is a bit. I do not know what words should I use, but that's been there in the society.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so there has been, a classification that okay, maybe information technology is better than electronics, than maybe mechanical engineering or civil engineering. And civil engineers I know get the poorest treatment amongst
Yes.
all the engineers, saying, "Oh, what do? You build
Right.
roads? Oh, you are not that good. Oh, you are into construction of buildings? Oh no, you are a poor guy." so so
I know. So
so
basically, he had an impression because he was from a production industry. Like he's not an engineer. I mean, he was a research guy. So he was part of an in mechanical industry or production industry, I would say. So he's seen people growing in that sphere as well. So he had that perspective in mind. But I never had an inclination towards that side. I mean, he never wanted to burden me with that expectations, but he wanted that, okay, I have this perspective. Maybe he can try this as well. But I never chose to. I had my own things. I mean,
well,
okay,
I am
obviously,
also an electronics engineer by
I know.
qualification, and
Yeah.
for me it was something different. I used to think I know things better than those IT guys, IT computer
Uh,
guys, because they know only software. I know
yeah.
the hardware as well.
Yeah.
That's what I used to think. Because, yeah, we have studied C, we have studied C, C++,
Yeah.
we also know about microprocessors, which the IT guys don't know. So,
Right.
then I used to think, oh, see, I know more than them. They know what is on the screen on a computer. I know the internals.
Right.
I know how those ICs are connected to each other, how those chips are working.
I
So,
know.
so I used to
Right.
think from that perspective, and I always felt, electronics guy, I'm much better than an IT
No,
engineer.
we even had the same mind in during college. I think we never used to leave a chance where we wanted to make the CS guys feel that okay, we are superior ones. Like in terms of workshops or any event that is being organized, we used to try to make them feel that okay, you know what, we are electronics. So I
Yeah,
think that
but
has been a tradition every college.
life has its own way of putting us in our place. So
Correct.
we're not working in the IT industry and not in the electronics industry, which should
Right.
which should
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
them
yeah.
that, okay, guys. so
Yeah.
that's you know this is something that we all go through as engineering students.
Right, right,
The fun and banter that goes on between the different branches of engineering in a college. So
right.
typically a college would have 5-6 branches at least, and then people would be going at each other. Oh, I am better than you. What are your job prospects? What is job, what are your job prospects, and what are my job prospects? Look at the growth that people have in my branch, blah blah blah. But
Correct.
then later on, once we finish engineering, maybe all of us get into the same company doing the same thing.
Same thing. Right.
that's that's quite common. Apart
Right.
from that, the whole lottery thing that goes on, right? At least
Yeah.
you had an interview to decide whether it was support or testing. But in
Yeah.
a lot of my guests have already said that they had kind of a lottery where people would just allocate them. Oh, you go into testing, or you go into development, or you're doing this. So, what are your thoughts on
No,
that?
I'll add on one more point that I missed there. So while our beloved Dasar, he was giving us a, like one brief on this part. So he still added to ask one question that if given a chance, do you want to go to development? And there was one of our friend who said, dyingly, I'll go to development. He had no thoughts on that, and we were like, what? I mean, we already have a manager who's been like kind of a, I mean, very good mentor, and he's been mentoring people over the years, and we are getting a chance to work under him. Why do you want to go into development? And we had the same reaction on everyone's face towards that guy. So I think the bias. I mean, I think this is something we've been talking about. There have been so many posts. I mean, some day back I was reading an article. There was even an article on I think Forbes, where there was a difference article that is software testing better or development better, something like that. So people have been talking about it a lot, and there is this thing that I think there is at point at college level only people should be aware of what is actually happening in the industry, because industry is not only about every new thing that keeps on coming in the market. Like for example, there was one discussion in TTC yesterday about I mean, one organization telling top 10 things to learn in 21, right? So if the same kind of information is being given to the college students, right, so they will feel that only these things are there. Okay. And somehow the organizations even have a lot of organizations even have a same kind of strategy, or I don't say a strategy because I cannot comment on organization level, but lot of people have that thing in mind that if you are going to hire for development, let's go for cream resources. If you're going for this kind of tech stack, let's hire people from the best colleges. So there should be a proper training from the college only. People should be made aware of all the segments they can choose for, and same should go when people are interviewed also. The amount of time that the companies invest in training people is very less. Like people are trained for like 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, like that. And in that time, in that frame only, they're asked to choose between this. Not, I mean, not even asked to choose, they're put allocated as per their performance. Because see what happens, the problem here happens that, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, yes.
I was
Okay.
just adjusting
So
the
the
volume.
only, yeah, the only problem that happens here is it may happen that at certain point of time you are interested to do something, and you might be interested to do in something else later at point of time. But in a very short span of time, you cannot be very sure on that you will be very good in this thing, and this is something which is made for you, and it should be entirely in hands of individuals, not in hands of anyone else. So this is something where, I mean, I would not say organizations are doing wrong or whoever started this has done wrong. This is something which I think we can correct at when we reach a level where we can be a part of the change. So we should try correcting these things so that we don't have to talk a lot of like talk a lot of debates or discussions that why is this bias happening, how can we do it, what can we do it. So as soon as we are able to do something like this, I think things would be more on individual perspectives. And plus, if individuals are very much made aware of everything and not showcased as, okay, if ML is good or only development is good, but even made people aware, if you make people aware that, okay, what testing can have an impact in overall, if you see a bigger picture, because if you have not read articles on blunders happened because of any missed testing, you won't know what has been the significance of testing. So that is where things are lacking at everywhere, which I think has to be corrected.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's got a lot to do with the awareness that people have. And you're
yeah,
absolutely correct. I mean, it starts from the ground up in the colleges, the kind of education system that we have. Now, I
yeah,
remember discussing this with you a couple of days ago when we were building up to this conversation, and you
yeah,
mentioned something very interesting that when you Googled or when you searched for
correct.
learn,
What to learn, how to learn.
what to learn, how to learn, and there was no mention of anything to do with testing. That's one thing. The other thing is going back to the post that you mentioned that we were talking about in the test chat group yesterday, and
Yeah.
it's about top skills to learn in 2021. And I don't want to name the
Oh,
institute
no, yeah, yeah, yeah,
name the institute here, but I have of course tried to ask them a question. I have not read what their response has been. Probably they have responded to my question, and I asked them, you know, you are talking about software development, you are talking about AI, ML, DevOps, everything, and you're not talking about testing. Why? Okay, that's a fundamental question. We should ask those questions. We
yeah,
have to, like you said, we have to be a part of the change. We have to drive that change. It is upon us, because
yeah,
until unless we get that mindset corrected and we pass it on to the next generations,
yeah,
to the testers who have started their journey now, or to the people who are going to get into their jobs, finishing their engineering and getting into jobs, until they realize that okay, this has been a very noble profession for almost half a decade now, even more, I would say. you
yeah,
know and people have been doing things, great things, and like you said, until they realize or read about the kind of damage that we have had to go through because of the lack of testing,
yeah.
until people are aware, they will not know what it is about. Uh, People would still treat us as, you know second class citizens, if I may
Yeah.
say, you know
Correct.
and that's very painful. And you're absolutely right. I mean, uh, first is that, okay, the development versus testing, and then
Yeah.
within testing, the automation versus, manual or whatever.
So-called manual.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is crazy. This is absolutely bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay, people suddenly start treating one group of people as superior, or as if they have come from heaven, and others are crawling on earth. Well, no, that's wrong, and it's got a lot to do with the way people think about testing, the way jobs are described. Job descriptions have these crazy things. They don't even talk about things like critical thinking. They don't even
Right.
talk about analysis,
Analysis, problem solving. No
problem
one.
solving. They do not even talk about, risks. Nobody's talking
Risk.
about.
Yeah.
And you go to testing interviews,
Yeah.
you see the state of testing interviews. Okay, now I want to bring this point here, Gaurav, and and I know I want to know your opinion.
Yeah.
We've started seeing a trend of people doing mock interviews and recording them and putting them on YouTube. Uh, our good friend Naveen from Naveen Automation Labs, he did.
He also did. Yeah.
He has started in 2021 doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And if I look at the interviews that he is conducting, they are so pragmatic. They give you so much of a real feel. And I'm not saying this because Naveen is a dear friend. I'm
Yeah.
saying this because if you watch those interviews, you will see what is going on. Okay, now another dear friend of ours, Shubhoday, she was one of the
She
first,
was interviewed. Yeah.
yeah, one of the first interviewees of Naveen,
Naveen. Yeah.
and I was reading the comments on that YouTube interview. A lot of people asking Naveen, why you did not ask automation related questions. You are an automation guru, and you're interviewing somebody, and you're not even asking one question on automation. And And Naveen clearly has said, if a person does not have automation listed on his or her resume, why should I
Why should?
put myself on that person? I will try to understand from that person, you know, her skills and how she uses it for testing. And that's what he did during the interview. If people have not seen that interview, I'll put the link to that interview in the description of this particular video. You must go and see that. And
Yeah,
for me, when I saw that, I thought that it was very realistic and not theoretical as some of the other people who are posting on YouTube
YouTube. Yeah,
have been doing. And I have to say this, and I'll say this in public, that some of those interviews are spreading so much of misconceptions, so much of bad knowledge. I mean, the whole interview scenario going back and forth with theoretical questions,
yeah,
no practical situational questions being asked, and the concepts that are being told are bad. Okay,
correct.
and I'm going to probably talk about this a little more a little later. But I want to know your opinion. What do you think of these mock interviews, and what do you think of the whole thing that is going on in the testing industry?
See, I think the idea is very good to have a mock interview, which is something I would agree that is something which should be there, and is something which is again creating awareness in people that okay, how is is the real time interview being held? And one good thing about how Naveen does is, I mean, again, I'm not doing his advertising, but what he does good is he, like, there was one video where he's given insights on how what is the expectation from people of different years of experience. So it gives you a very nice idea of, like, if you're attempting for for an interview where you are like 2 or 3 years old experience, uh, what is the expectations? Okay, but again, there are a lot of people who are just doing it only because they're just trying to, I just felt it is just they're just trying to convert it into a business kind of thing, where they're just trying to make people aware that okay, this is how, what is the interview, this is how you crack it. And okay, there can be people who even can get benefited by those interviews, but at the end, when you actually get into the picture, you might get into making blunders. So this is something I have seen. This is as by mistake. Even we have recruited people in past where we have seen those kind of people performing out of box in the interview, and when actually it came to real time picture, they were not doing blunders, I would say, but they were not behaving as they were doing it in the interview. So these are the things which can be problematic. But to have mock interviews is very good idea, but we should know whom to follow. We should know what is right, and if we don't know what is right, we should be asking questions to people. We should be having a mentor in place to validate, okay, if this person is having a video, or maybe any what we say, any audio clip is there where there is a mock interview being held, and if I want to follow, can I follow this? Is this person imparting the right knowledge? Because okay, we cannot, something which is right for us may be wrong for somebody else, but we have to have opinions from multiple people. We need to understand that okay, this is something which we can follow and we can learn. And that's how it might help. Because if we just start following blindly, just looking at the views of a video, okay, this has 1 million view, obviously this is good. So there are a lot of times I mean, something which is not even good, something which goes on the negative side also has a lot of views, because they're just looking for the business, and they're just trying to attract you for your views. That's it. So you should know what you have to follow, and if you're not doing that, probably not today, not tomorrow, but someday you will end up doing something blunder. This is what I feel.
Exactly, Gaurav, and I agree with you, especially on the part of choosing a right mentor, looking
Yeah,
at the right direction. And you mentioned about your mentor, Manoranjan Das. I think he's an incredible person. I have known him for a good part of 7 long years now, at least 7 8 years. Of course, I have also known him through Agile Testing Alliance, but
Yeah,
it's good to see that so many people who have been mentored by him are in the industry. I know them personally, and they're all doing wonderfully in their careers. Our good friend Shweta Paude is one such person.
Shata is again, yeah,
And now she's also mentoring a lot of people, which is
people, correct.
you have been doing the same thing, which is again good. So we pass on what we learn from our mentors
Right.
to the next generation, and that's how we can bring about a change. I want to just move away a bit from this particular discussion, and talk about your thoughts on the whole AI ML thing. Do you think it's a bubble which is going to burst, or do you think it is for real?
So I really wanted to talk on this because I would say there are a lot of people who are in college whom I know. I keep on seeing their WhatsApp statuses where some or the other, or like in a week time, they'll update, okay, this is amazing or cool video on AI, just refer this, watch this. And everywhere in their discussion, I see talks only on AI and ML. There's nothing else. I don't see their inclination towards any other domain. I mean, these are mostly, I don't say people only from the CS background, different domains. They are all the newbies in the college. And see, I think who is trying to advertise on AI and ML, and who's been trying to sell all those things, is being able to do it so well that people just want to get into it. And people think that this is something which is going to be a magic wand. There'll be a day when we only would be controlled by AI and ML. Like there'll be someone uh, like programmed in AI, let's say, I'm sorry, ML, and that person might control even us. I mean, because the way it is moving, the on a pace it is moving, this is what I believe, because people have that mindset in their mind. I mean, I don't think so. Definitely, this is something which is going to happen because I remember reading that comment on some post where you had mentioned that the day there is there comes a AI packed test automation, I'll put up all my money in that. So I'll be the second person to do that, because if AI can take up things like that, which is very unrealistic, then obviously I'm always ready to invest in that spectrum as well. So I think this is just becoming like a bubble, which which it just has a virtual presence, and someday it'll blast. And people who have, I mean, I don't want to play with anyone's emotions. I don't want to comment on anyone's emotions, but I have a feeling that it'll blast in a way that people might not like it. And probably it should be able it would be able to cater to only to the spectrum where it has its own like dimensional growth. It cannot go beyond that. It cannot reach somewhere beyond what humans are doing. Humans are only controlling it, and if you intend something to uh, I mean, go beyond what you can do, it might reach a point where that might control you and you will never like it. So it's something which is more of a hypothetical bubble, and people just trying to are expecting some magical things to happen. And obviously people are investing time and money and everything, people are doing it. But I mean, with a disclaimer, I say I don't think it is going to survive for a very long time with the expectations what people have in current.
Well, let me just clarify. Okay, we do not think that AI is not there or not real.
Yeah,
machine learning is not there or not real. There are some, some people, some organizations doing great work with within the data sciences
Yeah.
window, and they are doing some very good research on machine learning and AI, and we have seen things uh, happening very well. Yet, day before yesterday, on YouTube, I was watching a video from China where an entire factory, car manufacturing factory, is automated. Okay, it is an autonomous factory. 90% of the production line of cars is automated with robots, and it is all the car that is produced is all has got very fancy features.
Yeah.
You get into the car recognizes who you are, and then does all the settings based on your choice. Okay, you tell it and it remembers. So next time you go and give your car for valet parking, and the guy changes the seat settings and things like that, you don't have to do it every time. All you
Yeah.
have to do is, it recognizes your face and it does the setting automatically. Okay, there are no rear view, side mirrors. There are cameras placed which learn a pattern, and then they adjust your according to your driving style. Okay,
Yeah.
so I was watching all that, and and it is there. Okay, and it was produced in that factory where robots are controlling it. Okay, and they are all programmed to a level. So it is there, it is real.
Yeah.
However, to believe that it is going to change
The entire world.
us,
And
no,
yeah. Yeah.
it's not going to happen. Okay, and what Gaurav was saying, I would reiterate my sentence that I would put my money on AI the day I see an AI test framework,
Which has self-healing capacity.
things like that, is
Yeah.
capable of testing itself. Okay,
Correct.
because the framework also needs testing, right?
Correct. Correct.
If it is so capable, so good, then why don't you test the same thing? Okay. Now, I've had debates on LinkedIn, and people have said, "Oh, it doesn't mean that it should be testing itself. It is not no validation."
Yeah.
Well, that's what you feel, but from my side, I feel that if your tool is so good, then why don't you try testing your own tool with it? Test
Right.
yourself. If it is so smart,
Why can't it be so intelligent?
yeah, and this comes at the back of one of the conference talks that I did towards the end of 2020, where one of the sponsors pitched a product
Yeah.
which is a self-healing test automation tool, an AI-based test automation tool. And my question to those panelists in that panel discussion where this tool was being spoken about, I asked them, okay, so is it capable of testing itself? Guess what was the response?
I mean, at that point, we might have said a yes.
There was no response. There was
Ah,
absolutely no response. My question was skipped. Okay.
okay.
So so that raises some doubts.
Yeah.
Okay. And as they were talking about different features, I kept on hearing the terms test automation, manual testing. I kept on hearing these terms. And if you're talking about an AI based tool, instead of all this, we should have heard more of autonomous testing. You know,
Right.
it it is testing itself, or it is capable of understanding what to test, where to test, which layer, uh, what kind of testing is required, how deep you have to go,
Correct.
where you can do shallow testing, where you can do deep testing. It has to know all of that.
Yeah.
But anyways, I want to come back to the original discussion where we started. So this whole AI thing, I also see that as something that is being told to us, and we learn, and then uh, we pass it on to our next generation. Do you think,
Yeah.
in your opinion, that all these misconceptions around testing, around AI, around machine learning, or anything to do with technology is propagated due to the lack of a proper education system and testing being a part of that education system. What is your thought?
I think I
Not
would agree on that. I would agree on that because this is, I mean, just like we were talking on the awareness part. So awareness is not happening because there is, this is something which is not a part of the education system. If there would have been descriptive information from the college time itself, there would have been no challenges in people having an understanding of what it is all about, what testing is all about, and people would have accepted it in a way that okay, this is something where my interest goes. This is again something that I can choose, and people, I think the lot of people who sometimes complain, like a lot of people who have put in testing, most of the times they are enjoying it, but sometimes still people complain that I was forcingly put in testing. Maybe out of that crowd we might get some people who pre-decided from their engineering time only that I want to go for testing, irrespective of what people give me. So that is something, that change is something which again awareness and change in the education system can bring in. And in, I think, I believe in the final year there should be some teaching around what all things are you going, what all options do you have, and what all things can you do, instead of organizations spending a lot of time in training people over a 3 month of time where they give you insights on Java, .NET, UI or testing tools and everything. You get to learn a basic thing about it in the college itself. So you have your own mindset. I mean, obviously, at the end, things can happen in the way organizations want, or you can still put a word in front that, okay, no, I've been put up in development, I want to do testing, right? That can still be tried. But if you have the right mindset from the beginning, you might not get surprises. You may get surprises, but there can be still low chances on that. And obviously, that change can make a lot of difference. Maybe people start giving I mean, I think not equivalent, but good amount of respect towards testing, or maybe either other areas as well. Like for example, we know, I mean, DevOps came in picture recently, so people get to know about these things as well. I mean, there shouldn't be only one-sided inclination on development, or in people get to know from about AI and ML only, and they kept on reading. So suddenly they've been put into testing, and they're like, what is this? Why am I getting to work in testing? This was never told to me. So that awareness, that change in the education system, I think might, I think remove, not complete remove the bias, but might give some good amount of respect to the testing community. And I don't think so that is the only intention. Intention is to make people understand that what is the importance, and see a bigger picture, that if you are rightly educated in this area, you can make change that world has never seen. So that's the bigger importance you need to, anyone needs to understand about testing.
well.
So yeah.
You are absolutely right, Gaurav, and we've been talking about biases. So I want to ask you, okay, having been in the industry
Yeah.
for quite some time now already. Okay, it's one thing about testers handling biases,
Yeah.
but it's a different thing when you talk about biases on a larger platform where which involves testers, developers, and not just people from the industry, people outside the industry, people at our homes, you know, with our parents or our friends, not having a clear picture of what we are doing, and they have these preconceived notions and biases
Yeah.
about us, about testing. So what will be your formula of fighting out those biases or eliminating those biases?
So my formula would be very simple. I have started like, in case for people who need, I started collecting some information in terms of statistics to make people understand that what importance testing has. Okay, what what blunders it has seen in past because of wrong testing, and this is what I'm doing. So that's how you can educate people that okay, you're doing something important, because nobody is going to come and see that what application you're testing, what type of application are you testing. And same goes with development or DevOps people or anyone, right? People need to understand things on a higher picture, bigger picture. So make people aware on a very high level picture that this is something which went wrong and this is what I try to find. This is my job. And when people, the day people realize that oh, you're part of that thing, that big picture, that's how you're saving millions, they would automatically start giving you a respect. Like for example, there was one joke I was reading like couple of days back on this website, Software Testing Fundamentals. So there was a joke. I mean, I think a lot of people would have seen it. uh, it was all about the importance of having the right experience in testing. So there was a joke that there was one guy who was a very good testing enthusiast, and he retired happily from one organization. One day there was an issue which the organization was not able to replicate, and they wanted to fix it because it was just causing a lot of loss in the organization. So they thought, let's contact this guy who's retired. He came on board. He did some drill with the application for 1 or 2 hours, and he found the way to replicate it. And he just told them that this is how you replicate it, and the bug was fixed. And I mean, organization was able to save whatever money they were like losing up. Later, some point of time, like in like 10 days, they received a bill from that guy, like asking for around $50,000 as a charge. So they were like, what is this? How can you charge that much for one bug? So he gave an explanation that for the bug report, I charge $1, and rest $49,999 is to know that where I have to look for, where is the gray area, and this is what I get from the experience, and this is my charge. So that's the difference, that's the importance, and that's the experience he had. And that's the bigger that comes I mean, that's the bigger picture you show to people, that this is what it is. This is the importance of people. This is of importance of right testing, and knowing that where you have to find issues. Because like you were having a discussion with Gaurav Karana, that on this Amazon, where he was like just trying to find out issues. So even he discussed that people would generally think that there will be no issues, but who knows what can issue be? He will definitely find a gray area. And that's how you relate things to a bigger picture and showcase to people. That will be a very simple mantra to end for anyone, to make people aware of that, why testing is important. I mean, we have been talking and we can talk about this like for hours, and how we can make people aware. But you can use some small references, some statistics maybe, and just make people aware that this is what was the loss, this is how it got uh, eradicated, and I'm part of this. This is what we call testing. A very sweet mantra, I would say.
That's pretty cool. And going back to Gaurav Purana's interview, and we spoke about Amazon, and if people have heard his reply, because initially he also thought, oh, Amazon, I don't think there'll be so many bugs.
Correct.
And when he started actually testing it, when he
Hmm.
said, let me test it, and then he started finding a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how it is. I mean, we assume a lot of things.
Correct.
We and those assumptions lead to, again, some preconceived notions, which feed into our, which along with our biases make us think in a certain way about certain products. We start
Correct.
believing that, oh, there are no bugs. For example, there is a popular opinion that Google.com has no bugs.
No bugs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the most perfect product. But trust me, you will definitely see some bugs. And the moment I mentioned Google, my Android phone, the Google Assistant just
Hey Google.
and it started saying, "Ah, well, I don't understand." It was not for you to understand, is what I'll tell the phone. so
Correct.
so I mean, I'm
Yeah,
glad.
and
Sorry, go ahead,
I'm
please.
sorry. Just one thing. So I was just writing. I mean, I just wrote it to one of the friend yesterday that I have a discussion with Brijesh, and I would tell him about again one quote I read on testing. So it said that when you, I mean, again, it's again a famous one. People usually use that in, I think, maybe talks and all. So it just to explain people what to do, you can tell people that when you're actually trying to give a feedback about something, someone has done in past, or anything, any development, anything anyone has done. So you are being called as a critique,
Mhm.
but when you are doing it officially, you're a tester. Simple. And this is a I told I'm going to tell Brijesh about it, that this is what I thought. I just read it somewhere. And again, something, if somebody is not very satisfied with what you're working with and you're not able to explain, you give him a simple definition.
Well, that it's a very important message according to me, because it is us testers who have to start taking pride in what
Pride
we
in what we're doing. Correct.
say. And in a lot of posts, I emphasize that we have to be proud of what we are doing, and we have to pass on that message to the next generation. We have to create awareness, educate people in
Yeah.
understanding what we do. And there is no shame in saying, "Oh,
Right.
I'm interested." Okay, I see. For me, if whether I am a test engineer, at an entry level, or a test manager with the 20 25 years of experience, I would still go ahead and say I am a tester.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm proud of it. I mean, there is absolutely no shame in saying, in telling people that I test software. What's wrong?
Yeah.
Everything that you see, that you use, that is working. If it was not tested properly, would you be able to use it at all? Your
No.
your your cell phone, the thing that you use every day for doing so many things, the TV that you watch, and
Yeah.
those
Right.
testers. Be glad that there was somebody who tested it for you.
Correct.
And if you are in that profession, be proud that you are able to contribute in such a manner.
And why, like for example, a lot of developers, I mean, again, with a disclaimer that I'm not pointing to the community. Like, let's say some good friends say, okay, you're a tester. Why can't we say them the other way? Okay, you're a developer. Like, why can't we be like that? Why can't we have our own pride with ourselves? We should be very happy that, okay, someone chose us to be a tester. That person knows that, okay, we can find issues. So
Very true, very true. Very.
exactly.
Now I want to go to something interesting that I know about you,
Yeah.
is your fascination for travel. And I know that your fascination for travel has a direct correlation with your prowess in testing.
Yes.
Now, I want the audience to understand that correlation. So, would you be kind enough to share
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So there's one thing about like people, what people a lot of times say that I don't get an opportunity. I'm not getting an opportunity. How do I get an opportunity? I know it's very difficult to get an opportunity. You need to wait for time. You need to wait for, like, there are a lot of parameters in it, but you need to be an opportunist as well. You need to keep on knocking doors to get an opportunity. It's been with me that I've worked with someone who's been like very professionally good with me. I've done a lot of deliveries, but still to get an opportunity from my manager, I had to knock a lot of doors to him, that just to show him the faith that I can do it. And it needs, obviously it needs your courage. It needs that caliber to understand that okay, you have that risk taking capacity to take it up. And again, since you would be new to that sphere, so you have to have belief in yourself and make that same belief enabled in the other side as well. Okay, you can do this. It started, I think, when I was in UK, and I we had a small plan to drive from London to Scotland, and I was the only driver.
Good 500 kilometers, I guess, right?
600, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So we were like 4 5 people together. We thought we'll rent out a car, and I mean, I was not the only driver, but like we were two of them, but I was the most confident one, I think, that time. So somehow these guys booked the car and they told me that we booked the car. And I was like, what? Who will be driving it? So everyone in the same notion said, it's you. And suddenly when I got to know, I was like, I just felt as if the floor has gone away from me. I was like all in tears that I don't know what to do. I mean, this is something not like this is not a joke. I just said that I can drive. I am very confident, but it's about driving in a different country where I don't know any rules. So I went to one of my leads there in UK. I told her that, see, this is the situation. I don't know what to do. So she was like, you'll do it. It's okay. Try and go for it. I said, I don't know rules and anything here. How will I do? She was like, okay, I don't know. Maybe you can try, and if it doesn't happen, it's okay. It won't happen. That's it. So she said it very casually, and I was like, okay, it's okay. We'll see what we'll do. That day somehow passed. We went to collect the car. We collected the car. We took it home. That day I could not sleep, and I was having that fear all night. I was sweating. It was like -4 degrees, and I was sweating with my window open, and I was sweating, and I was thinking, how will I do it? I have taken it on me. How will I do it? I started watching YouTube videos how to drive in UK, and it was so funny that I was just
but,
watching
but
everything. I was going to the car. Yeah, yeah,
but in UK also we drive on the left side of the road, right? So
right. But we are not used to following rules, right?
yeah.
I being a pure Indian driver, so I used to watch video. I used to go down. I used to sit in the car, walk down the street, go and see all the signs. I think by 5 a.m. I made up my mind that what worse will happen. The worst thing which will happen is going to be like I would be fined for at the max some amount of money, which I know these guys are going to share with me. So the risk is shared. Why am I worrying? I went to sleep. 2 hours later, I woke up. I said to all, we are going to Scotland. And we went out. And I think in an hour, we were on the motorway and all my fears were gone. I was not even thinking about I could be fined because I know that I would drive it right. I know everything. And what is there on the road, I need to follow it. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the time where I felt either, I mean, as you say, safe or like fears like or risk, that when you take it, you need to have that courage to do it first. You need to gather the courage, and once you've done it, you get the courage to do a next one again. You have the courage to take a next risk. So I think that is something that applies to any industry. For software testers, even willing to try automation testing, uh, who think that this is a big mountain, I don't know how to climb it. If you want to do it, just think about it, take a risk and do it. And that's how I have been with every opportunity that I have tried to take is with the same courage I've been gathering since that time. And I have collated it to a level that I don't say I don't fear, of taking any risk, but it goes in both the sides with my travel and with my industry experience. I try gathering enough courage that okay, just to understand that I have to take this step for this opportunity. Either it will click or it won't. I won't die, right? I would be still alive. I would still have my people around me. That is that is anyway going to be there. So why we have to like think about something that has not even happened? So let's try getting onto a path to try to achieve it. So that has been the journey.
Such an important lesson, and I love the way how you put that connection between your driving fear and the fear that we have within us. So this brings
Yeah,
me to my favorite segment of this discussion, the rapid
yeah,
fire, where I have
yes,
good questions for you. First one is a very easy one.
yeah.
Your favorite South Indian food now that you live in Bangalore.
Dosa, anytime.
What kind of dosa? Because dosa
No,
is
I love plain dosas. I love plain dosa with okay, not with sambar. I love it with rasam. So that's I've tried a lot of places here and then developed that sense because sambar I've never loved. Like my wife and even my mother has been cooking sambar since my childhood days. So this is something I never learned. So I never had that interest towards sambar. Rasam lately I used to like. So that's a weird combination, but I like it.
well. I am also one of those dosa with sambar guy, dosa with rasam guys. Uh, I, I like that combination. It's a little weird for
Yes.
people. People look at you.
Even when you go to the restaurant, right? The people would be in shock. Why are you asking for rasam? And I'm like, I want rasam, and I would ask for two bowls. They would be like, he is completely crazy. I said, let it be. What
I
can I do?
remember so in Bangalore quite quite some time back. Uh, During the Diwali time, I was helping one of my family friends with one of the Diwali crackers sale, which they had put. So they were selling these firecrackers for Diwali, and we were helping. And so there, there was a cook who used to come and prepare lunch for us, and he used to make this fantastic rasam. And before anything else, before even getting to the main course, people would finish the rasam. It would be gone with seconds. And people like, okay, one glass done, another glass. You would have it in a
Yeah.
glass, okay? Just
Oh
fill that
yeah.
glass, take it, and then just
Drink.
drink it over. So it's been crazy that way.
Yeah.
Okay, now just the opposite. What is your favorite food, which is not South Indian?
Oh, that's a tricky one because it all depends on my mood. But I mean, where I am actually, I'll say. So if I'm around my friends, I would love for them to prepare something for me. Like most of us, we cook. Even I cook a lot. My friends cook. So I would love chicken to be prepared by them. And if I'm at home, I would again depend on what dish it is. So either I'll make a selection that this I'll ask request my wife, can you prepare this? If the other dish it is, so let's say like sevai upma, for example, is
Mhm.
again very close to my heart. Like since the days I was in college, while coming back from college to home, in the train only I'll request my mother that sevai upma is something you should cook for me. That should be the first meal I take when I get home. So yeah, it's not South Indian or North Indian. I think it's a mix because everywhere they cook this. So
Yeah.
again, one favorite dish for me,
So
cooked by my mother.
so what's the favorite that you cook?
Oh, I love cooking like continental food. I mean, I cook very less on Indian side because I've given that honor to my mother and wife because They don't like it the way I cook on the Indian side. So anything like while I was in UK, so I used to learn a lot of dishes that they used to eat. So I like that style of preparation.
So are you a
So
big Jamie
keeping
Oliver
it
fan?
50% raw.
Are you a big Jamie Oliver fan or something like that?
Not like that, but kind of. So like if you're not getting anything, we used to eat a lot in subways and all, for example. So like those kind of salads, although it has a lot of fats, I mean, no doubt, you put all your sauces and all those things, but those kind of food I love preparing. Roasted things, those things I love.
Well,
Yeah,
good. I'm just preparing a list of places
while
to
you cook.
when.
I know you had that conversation with Mukesh. Naveen cooking chicken.
Yeah, yeah. Naveen, Mukesh, Soumya.
Sorry, Naveen being the critic and Mukesh cooking chicken. Yeah, right.
I mean, so
I'll be ready to go for anything. Anything you
no,
want, I can
no,
prepare.
you will be cooking. That's where I'm
No,
going to.
I'm happy to be a cook. We'll let Naveen decide, be the critic.
Okay, so obviously you've already answered that question, but I'll still ask you. Okay, now what do you feel is easier, driving in the UK or driving in India?
UK.
Why?
Because you don't need to have patience while driving in UK.
That's
And here in India, you need to have patience, you need to have courage, you need to have confidence, you need to have uh, whatnot. I mean, everything you need. Just like you need to have all your eyes and ears open while testing. It same goes for driving in India, especially in Bangalore. People are very good, no doubt, but driving in Bangalore,
driving in
the
Bangalore.
disclaimer. Yeah,
Yeah, when you have areas like KR where the traffic which has to go to the
lovely traffic.
left side of the road. So
Kerpuram, you go to Silkboard, any side
Silk
go towards Marathali side.
those who know Bangalore would know that Silk Board Junction has its own stories. And there was a joke which became very popular that there are these two guys who are traveling in a car,
Yeah.
and one guy says, "Hey, we are going to be early to office today." Then the guy who's driving says, "Are you forgetting that we started driving yesterday?" That's the
Oh my
story with
god.
Silk Board.
Yeah.
Silk Board Junction has is very famous for its notorious traffic jams. In
Right.
a lifetime, I mean, there were memes being made about people doing their household chores while they're traveling. So they're
You
sitting in their car,
you'll see
sitting in the bus, and
correct. You see a lot of people in their scooties putting it on the stand and standing on the side, just waiting for the traffic to clear. So I've seen such situations as well. So that have been very funny actually. I mean, I don't take it as what it what is wrong with this place. I find it very funny.
sit in the bus and chop all the vegetables that
Correct.
for dinner. So that's a good time
It's
saving.
enough time. Correct.
All right. Thank you, Gaurav, for those wonderful answers for your rapid fire. Now
Thank you, Brajesh.
uh, we know more about you. It was fantastic talking to you today. Uh,
Yes.
but before I let you go, my final question, which obviously you know. So,
Yeah.
what does Gaurav do when he's not testing?
Oh, I try finding to do some photography. I have a like small love for photography. Do that. Uh, I help my family in cooking or doing anything, or I try finding a space where whatever is left out, I'll do some work that I keep on doing. Um, I watch a lot of Netflix or web series. I'm a fan of Indian movies. I mean, I'm not very much on to watching anything apart from Indian content because all thanks to my wife. She has much interest on the Indian content, so there's something common which has to be played on the TV. So
You watch a lot of
that's
do you watch a lot of Hindi movies, or is it from across regional movies as well?
no Hindi only. Region. So if I go to the region wise, I'll go towards the Bhojpuri movies. So I don't have that interest probably. So I mean, if I am really maybe in a funny mode, maybe I might watch them just to keep on.
All of
So
them.
sometimes we put on the songs just to have a laughter, just to point
Have,
out some words.
some of them have hilarious titles, by the way. So
So so hilarious they are.
yeah.
So
Anyways,
that's what.
it was fantastic talking to you, Gaurav, today.
Same here, Brijesh.
Uh,
Amazing time.
uh, we started much later than what we should have done. I really appreciate your patience and bearing with me. Uh, um, but this is a good start to the Tesla Speak series in 2021. You're the
Yes,
first talking to this year, and
yes.
it's really a coincidence that 2020 ended with Gaurav's interview and
And
2020
started with Gaurav's interview.
starts with Gaurav's interview. The
Correct.
the series that I'm talking
Yeah.
about. So, which is fantastic. Thank you, Gaurav, for your time. It was a pleasure. It is a pleasure talking to you anytime, and we'll
Yes.
look forward to having many such conversations in future.
Yes, Brijesh. Thank you so much for your time. It was so lovely to be here.
Thank you. Have a nice day, Gaurav.
You too, Brijesh. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.